Imagine waking up and finding out that the Mortal Kombat universe, the franchise that shaped generations, turned stylized violence into art, and always refused to bow to mainstream standards, now belongs to Netflix. Yes, the same Netflix that turns everything into bingeable content, prioritizes global reach, and sands down edges in the name of mass appeal. Fans are asking, is this evolution or a death sentence? Because if there's anything that has always defined Mortal Kombat, it's raw, brutal, over-the-top identity, unapologetic, and untamed. Now it's in the hands of a giant that thrives on algorithms, projections, and cultural optimization. This isn't just a corporate acquisition, it's a direct threat to the very essence of what makes MK exist: blood, impact, authenticity. The future of the franchise isn't just at risk. It's standing at the edge of an arena where most fighters don't survive. And in this battle, the first ones to bleed are the fans. And if you love Mortal Kombat, hit that subscribe button to get all future content. This is a brand new channel, and I'm dropping 3 videos a week. Thanks for subscribing. The integration of Warner Bros. Gaming division into Netflix's ecosystem is, at best, a risky leap. Mortal Kombat has always lived in a AAA environment. Massive dev teams, long production cycles, technical ambition, creative freedom, and heavy budgets. Netflix, on the other hand, while huge in streaming, has a fragile and inexperienced presence in large-scale gaming. So far, its catalog is built around casual, mobile-style experiences that rely more on quick engagement than graphical excellence or deep mechanics. This creates a clash of mindsets. A franchise born to be grand and ambitious now risks being handled like a secondary product, adjusted to the limitations of a company still crawling in the AAA world. By moving Mortal Kombat into a system that values quantity over refinement, the integrity of the series can be diluted, turning something epic into a risky experiment that should never be reduced like that. The integration of Warner Bros. Gaming division into Netflix poses the most immediate and concrete danger for Mortal Kombat.
Netflix simply doesn't have a solid track record with AAA games. Its portfolio leans on casual experiences made for quick consumption, while Mortal Kombat requires cutting-edge tech, advanced motion capture, stable servers, and brutal visual refinement. The game is the foundation of the franchise, and any reduction in ambition, budget, or technical expertise could compromise what fans have known for decades. But it doesn't stop there. Movies and series also face real danger. Netflix runs on scale logic, aiming for global reach and more superficial storytelling, which dilutes the dark, bloody, exaggerated tone that defines Mortal Kombat. And the truth is, even before the acquisition, Warner Bros. Never explored Mortal Kombat to its fullest potential on the big screen. When MK finally made it to theaters, the deep lore of the games was stripped down to the essentials, simplified to the point where it lost depth, nuance, and complexity. Instead of embracing the mythology of realms, bloodlines, gods, and ancient rivalries, the films were watered down into shallow narratives, more like summaries than faithful adaptations. Now, under Netflix, things get much worse. We're talking about a platform that manages hundreds of brands at once, prioritizing volume and diversity, not necessarily care. If Warner, which already owned the franchise, barely tapped into the richness of the lore, Netflix, with its industrial approach and endless catalog, is even more likely to toss MK to the bottom shelf. In an ocean of franchises competing for attention, Mortal Kombat could simply drift into irrelevance. One of the most dangerous factors in this new scenario is the budget. Mortal Kombat has never been a cheap franchise. Special effects, elaborate fight choreography, mystical realms, supernatural creatures, complex fatalities, all of that demands heavy investment. But Netflix operates under a production model that values efficiency over luxury, quantity over refinement. It prefers releasing several mid-tier projects rather than one extremely expensive and super-produced one. That mindset creates a hostile environment for Mortal Kombat, a franchise that thrives on freedom and resources to go all out. With its natural tendency to cut costs, Netflix may impose CGI reductions, shrink VFX teams, simplify fights, and even limit set pieces. The outcome would be a visually underwhelming version, more like standard streaming productions, and far from the grandeur of the games. Without a proper budget, Mortal Kombat loses brutality, intensity, and identity, becoming just another item in a massive catalog instead of the epic experience that has always defined the series. When we think of Mortal Kombat, we immediately think of identity.
visual, moral, emotional, historical. Every fighter carries a personal universe, a unique aesthetic, and a temperament that exists for a reason. But under Netflix, the risk of losing that identity is massive. The platform has a track record of reworking characters to fit a generic global audience, smoothing visual traits, altering personalities, erasing nuance, and rewriting motivations. Mortal Kombat is not about conventional heroes. It's about characters who are intense, outrageous, dark, tragic, and often morally ambiguous. When this world goes through corporate filters that aim for standardization, the essence collapses. This loss of identity isn't just about clothing or posture. It hits the narrative core and the soul of the franchise. Characters stop being extreme archetypes and become watered-down, simplified versions that are merely watchable for the masses. The result? Mortal Kombat loses its uniqueness and turns into just another generic product instead of maintaining the visual, emotional, and symbolic impact that has always upheld its brutal identity. Mortal Kombat 1 2023 already sparked a wave of criticism for what many described as artificially applied woke culture. It wasn't simply about adding representation, something Mortal Kombat has always had naturally, but about how that representation was implemented at the expense of the lore's coherence. The gender swap of originally male characters like Sector and Cyrax raised questions about narrative purpose because the change didn't add depth. It just created strangeness for fans who knew the original material.
The LGBT romance between Mileena and Tanya, instead of being developed organically, was perceived by many as forced, without emotional buildup that justified their involvement. The result felt disruptive, not because of diversity itself, but because the internal logic wasn't there. On top of that, Mortal Kombat 1 was criticized for having a weaker story than previous entries and an overly clean visual direction, abandoning the franchise's traditional aesthetic brutality. The game seemed to chase mainstream standards, losing the dark, intense, grotesque tone that defines its DNA. Many players viewed it as a softening process designed not to offend sensitive audiences, which is ironic considering Mortal Kombat has always been synonymous with shock and transgression. Now, add that context to Netflix, a company often accused by the audience of prioritizing ideological agendas and woke insertions that feel disconnected from the stories they're put in. This tendency has already been facing backlash, with several Netflix productions criticized for sacrificing artistic coherence in the name of agendas. In other words, if Mortal Kombat 1 already caused negative reactions for those decisions, under Netflix, the trend could get worse, not better. The risk here is simple. Mortal Kombat fans have already shown rejection when changes feel like ideology instead of narrative. And if Netflix insists on this pattern, it could deepen the damage. Instead of restoring MK's brutal, visceral, unapologetically politically incorrect identity, the platform could amplify the loss of identity, especially in a time when audiences are tired of artificial woke, and make that clear.
The most immediate and practical threat Mortal Kombat would face under Netflix is the reduction of gore. Mortal Kombat does not exist without graphic violence. It's not an accessory, it's the identity, the style, the emotional pillar behind every fight. The gore expresses brutality, absurdity, exaggeration, and even dark humor. Netflix, however, operates under strict global limitations. Several countries enforce heavy restrictions, and highly bloody productions trigger content blocks, cuts, or limited reach. The company tends to tone down scenes to maximize audience size and minimize regulatory risk. That means the very thing that makes Mortal Kombat unique would be trimmed for commercial reasons. Without dismemberments, grotesque fatalities, and visceral visual impact, Mortal Kombat becomes just another fighting franchise. The danger isn't just losing blood, it's losing the aesthetic essence that sets the series apart from every other one out there.
Under Netflix, Mortal Kombat's film productions would inevitably become more safe and commercially oriented. The platform builds its content not around creative boldness, but around maximizing reach, minimizing controversy, and increasing retention. That means movies, series, or animated projects would lose part of the brutal, dark, and risky spirit that has always defined the franchise. The priority would stop being loyalty to the original tone and would shift toward global acceptability. On top of that,
Mortal Kombat runs the risk of being pushed to the bottom of the list within the new portfolio structure. Because it's an adult, violent, and naturally controversial franchise, it simply doesn't align with Netflix's goal of creating widely accessible content for all age ranges. When the company has to choose where to invest, it tends to support brands that offer less risk and greater global return. As a result, Mortal Kombat would fall behind safer properties like period dramas or young adult sci-fi, even though MK has a massive and loyal fan base. The practical consequence? Less investment, less boldness, and less priority, a recipe for gradual loss of identity and creative irrelevance. After looking at all of this, the conclusion is clear. Mortal Kombat is at risk of losing what made it legendary. We're not talking about superficial changes, but structural impact, reduced gore, visual dilution, simplified storytelling, and lack of priority inside Netflix's massive catalog. MK was never built to please everyone. It exists to hit hard, shock, and push boundaries. When that essence is replaced with commercial safety, global accessibility, and aesthetic softening, the result is the inevitable dilution of identity. The audience has already shown resistance to any attempt to soften Mortal Kombat, and under a company that operates by chasing maximum accessibility, that conflict will only get worse. The danger isn't organic creative evolution, but forced transformation that disconnects the franchise from its DNA. Mortal Kombat doesn't need to be comfortable, light, or politically safe. It needs to be Mortal Kombat. That's it. Thanks for watching.